This is our 32nd session. We've had 64 guest speakers. We started with 60 past members, and we are now over 1,600. So again, hats off to our founding father, Danny, who I don't believe is with us right now, but sometimes he is able to join at the end of the meeting. And we really appreciate all that he's done to help get this off the ground, and for those of you who continue to help make it grow. And with that, I am very proud to introduce our guest speaker. Mr. John Zornick is a graduate of Salem Senior High School, which is where I graduated from. From there, he moved on to the United States Military Academy at West Point. He served in the Army for 20 years, leaving the Army as a lieutenant colonel. And from there, he joined the Alliance Career Group, which their focus is on helping veterans find work. And I will be turning this over to John after he answers our one very important question. And that is, John, can you please share one piece of insider knowledge that many job seekers might not be aware of, but would be incredibly helpful for them in their job search?
Yeah, sure, I would. And it's going to relate to the topic that I'm going to cover today. So not to spoil too much of that, I would just say this. There's a lot of rules out there for interviewing that many of you all have heard of. Do this, don't do that, kind of rules, right? And they're very helpful, but sometimes you have to get beyond those rules, because sometimes people will either take them too far, not far enough, or not in the right direction. Okay. And I can just give you one simple example of that from my own military background and helping military people, right? There's a rule that you've probably heard out there that when you're asked to tell me about yourself, it's a very common opening interview question, as many of you all know. There's a lot of folks out there, HR folks in particular, that will say, hey, just keep it very business or job oriented. Don't talk about your family, for example. And of course, interviewers aren't supposed to be able to ask you about your family. Are you married? Do you have kids? That kind of thing. It's one of those taboo topics. But just because they can't ask you that doesn't mean you can't offer it up. And there are many occasions where it can be helpful to offer that up. Now, my example is going to be very specific to the military. If you think about somebody like me who served 20 years in the Army, I was an infantry airborne ranger doing all the dirty, nasty stuff that you tend to think about when you watch war movies and whatnot. It's really helpful if you're interviewing for a civilian job to figure out a way to humanize yourself so you don't come across like this flat belly, steely eyed killer, right? And one way to do that is just to simply talk about your family, that you're happily married. Me in particular, I've been married for 40 years now, got two great kids, and something as simple as that, although it's got nothing at all to do with why somebody should or should not hire you. For somebody coming out of the military, it's a way to help humanize yourself to somebody who doesn't have the same shared experience that you have. Because no matter who you're interviewing with, your experiences are going to be so different than each other. So that's just one example of talking about rules. But when it comes my time to speak a little bit more, we'll hit that in a little different direction. Okay.
Thank you. So I know in preparing for this meeting, you were looking for 3 volunteers who might be willing to share their work experience. Is any just the first 3 people who raised their hand, or are there any other additional criteria?
Let me do, before I do that, first, thanks for the opportunity to be here. Danny invited me to this, and some of you all don't know that, probably wouldn't know that my organization helped Danny get his first job when he left the Army, as well as his second job. Okay, that's where my experience. I when he told me about this organization, what you do, is why I was really happy to lend a hand. He told me some of the rules about how you do things and all that. I guess you're supposed to wear a funny hat today.
Yes.
I didn't wear a hat. But I'm going to show you a funny hat that I'm afraid only Alice can appreciate here. I'm going to show it up here on the screen.
Quaker
Alice, you want to
Sam.
comment? That is Quaker Sam. Okay, this was the mascot of our high school. Okay, the Salem Quakers. Nothing will instill fear in the heart of your enemies like going up
Quaker
against a
Sam.
Quaker, I guess.
Yeah. He is formidable. And I usually
Yeah,
wear a hat, but when I'm leading the meeting, my headset, I can't fit one on my head. So
yeah.
anyway,
So, anyways,
continue.
no, Alice and I do go back a little bit. She did share that we went to the same high school. Here's something she does not know. The very first date I ever had in sixth grade was with her sister. Okay. Um, she probably doesn't even remember because it was the first and only date I ever had with her, and the only date I had in sixth grade. Period. Okay, I was kind of a shy kid. I don't even know how it came together, but I just thought that was kind of funny when she reached out to me and we found this connection.
Bad.
But back to what you were asking me. I am looking for a couple of volunteers to kick things off. Now, I know this is something that's recorded and maybe somebody wouldn't want to volunteer this, but I'm just going to ask a simple question. Okay. And it's just to take anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute just to tell the group about your most recent job. So I don't know the best way to control this. I don't know if I'll be able to see people's hands raised, but if you're willing to answer that question, um, go ahead
Yep.
and
And we have one hand raised.
okay.
So we have one volunteer, Monica.
Sure. I've been an independent consultant for 18 years, but my most recent main client was for a company called MENA, and I did the corporate communications for our U.S. Agency for International Development work. I did the newsletter, maintained the website, sometimes helped with proposals, and did, prep for events, exhibit booths and brochures and the whole 9 yards. And then I was available to do basically quality control for project work done in the field if we had a problem that needed to be solved quickly. And so that was basically what I did. But it all came to an end in January.
Yeah, I don't think we probably have to ask you why or how, but all right, thanks for sharing that. Do we have anybody else? Any other volunteers?
Hope
We
raised her
actually
hand.
do.
Okay.
We have
Like I said, this
Hope.
can go really well or it could fall on its face, but we'll see.
Yes,
Is there
we
okay.
have Hope and Monica are both volunteering. They have their
Hey
hands
there.
up.
I'll do it.
Hello.
Hey guys, it helps me to practice. In my most recent role, and I have to slow down, I was a district sales manager, $10 million sales generator for Chevrolet in the state of Louisiana. Drove 125% objective score for EV sales in the state of Louisiana, and definitely put me on top earner for South Central region. And I also have full working knowledge of everything sales, service, training related dealership expertise. That is it.
Okay,
I
great.
stumbled.
Thank you. And was there another one? We can probably go with one more if there is. No other volunteers? Alice, how about if
Charles.
I pick Alice, can I pick you?
Charles had his hand up.
You
Okay,
can't
all
pick
right.
me, but Charles volunteered. But if you
Okay,
need a
all right,
fourth, I'm willing.
you're off the hook then.
Charles. Or maybe.
The hand was raised
Are
for a
you?
comment
Oh,
earlier.
okay. So I guess I'm still on the hook.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. So before my position was eliminated, I was a director of information technology. My focus was in the operations field where we were responsible for transformation and integration work across the enterprise of a Fortune 500 company with over 55,000 employees. My primary focus was in contact center technologies, but because we worked for an insurance company, we supported all customer facing always with a white glove support service. During COVID, I brought device deployment in-house because our vendor was taking too long. We were able to move it into an office and start shipping devices in 2 days instead of employees waiting for 7. And so I have 30 plus years experience in leadership and technology. So I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. And that's not a Liberty quote. I know that's State Farm, but you got it.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. Okay. Now we all heard, I think, three good rundowns of recent jobs, and I talked about, there's all these different rules with interviewing, right? And this was not an interview question. I was trying to make it, so it might be unfair where I'm going with this, but we'll see in a moment. So like I said, there's all kinds of rules for interviewing. A basic rule that, like, when it comes to do's and don'ts, it says, like, don't ever be late, right? For an interview. Everybody knows that, right? So let's try this experiment in chat. Think of a simple interview rule, like a do or a don't, and just put it in the chat right now. I just want to see some of the variety of rules we have out there that you all are aware of or have learned about. Give you a minute or so to do that. All right, I'm seeing some really good ones. Give you another minute or so here. Okay. All right. Good. This is working. This is working. Okay. So if you're looking through there, you probably are all recognizing some common sense rules that you've probably heard about. If not, then write them down and use them. Okay. That don't chew gum, dress professionally, wear a suit, make good eye contact, use first names, don't bring up salary during your first interview. Do research on the company. That's an awesome one. Okay. Somebody said, don't be negative about your previous employer. Okay. I think I saw that one there. Be polite to the receptionist. That's a great one. Okay. You'd be amazed at what pull any person might have that you encounter. We once had a candidate go to a job that was picked up at the airport by the president of the company, but didn't know that he was the president of the company. You just never know who you're talking to sometimes. But let's go back to the one I did mention there, that it is never talk negative about a previous employer, right? I think most of us have heard that. And it's common sense, because you don't want to hire somebody who might have baggage with them, that they're that negative Nelly, always got a cloud over their head. This was terrible. It's not my fault. They were jerks. It was a toxic environment. They weren't organized. You hear all those kinds of things, and we know that we're not supposed to talk about them, right? No matter how negative they are. But when I asked the three of you to describe your previous job, even though, again, it wasn't an interview related question, you weren't interviewing for a job, you all abided by that, right? I didn't hear any negativity about your previous jobs, right? I heard a lot of good experiences and value that you created for your organization, right? And again, this isn't fair, but you know what I also didn't hear from any one of you? I didn't hear how much you loved that job. I didn't hear how much you learned from that job and how it was such a great experience for you, or what you took away from it, or anything that would make you seem like a person I really want to work with, because they're very positive about their previous boss. And I have seen this time and time again from people that we have helped in our program, and helping military people interview, right? Military people are really good at following rules. Do this, don't do that. And they will follow them to the letter, right? And most people are, if you're really serious about a job search, you're going to follow those rules, but you got to put them in the right kind of context. Yeah, we never want to talk negative about an employer, but can you figure out a way to talk positive about your most previous employer? because I have seen some people that, and 19 years is, just so you know, that's my tenure of working at Alliance, helping people find jobs out of the military. It's, military can be challenging to find a civilian job because you've got no civilian experience to draw upon. But I have seen some people who had maybe limited leadership experience in the military. Maybe their career wasn't as stellar as somebody else's. Maybe they didn't get the same type of great opportunities that other people got just because of the roll of the dice. But yet in an interview, they outshined the people that did have those incredible resumes, incredible accomplishments, just because of that sort of positive attitude of what they took away from their last organization and made it come out very positive. Like, oh yeah, my last job, this was a great opportunity for me. I learned so much in that job. My boss spent a lot of time. I had great teammates that helped me learn, and we covered for each other and things like that. And when you can bring that sort of positivity, you would be surprised at how that can overcome, well, maybe you weren't top sales rep of the quarter or of the year, or missed your numbers here or there. It's the attitude that you bring to the conversation that I know for me personally, it's the one thing that I really latch onto. And I saw a comment on there, but there's also a thing that you're not supposed to lie. And okay, and I know where that comment is coming from, is because maybe you did work in a toxic environment. Maybe your boss was a jerk. Maybe you didn't get along with the person in the cube next to you. We've all had that, right? I'm not suggesting that every job and every boss is perfect anyway, but you've got to think of a way to make that positive while being true to it, right? That you can share with other people, because it is always a breath of fresh air when you hear so many people interviewing. You hear about how this didn't go right, this didn't fall their way, this thing, even if it's not a terribly negative thing, it's just, you get so used to the negativity. It is really a breath of fresh air when you talk to a job candidate and they've got just such a positive outlook as far as what their most previous or whatever previous experiences that they had. And to me, that is a great thing about, what I like about the theme of this group here, Hopeful Fridays. I think it's got a great tone to it about being hopeful, being positive. I know the challenge that's associated with being unemployed and trying to find a job. When I came out of the military, it was really tough for me. I had 20 years of great leadership experience in the Army, but being an infantry guy who can shoot, move, and communicate, how does that translate into the civilian world, right? It's tough out there. But I think that the whole positivity thing is something that we don't hear enough about. That it's avoid the negative, yes, but take it one step further and be as positive as you possibly can about previous jobs, previous employers, and you never know, it might make somewhat of a difference in how the outcome of that interview is. Okay, so that's it, short and sweet. I don't know if there's I have any other responsibilities after this, Q&A, anything like that, but I'm available for whatever at this point there, Alice.
Yeah, so if you have the time, we would love for you to be able to stay around and answer some questions. But I do need to make sure that we stop the recording